Hello, and thank you for tuning into this week's Mayor's Update. As always, we have a lot of important information to share with you here this week, so please feel free to share this video with your friends, family, relatives, and everyone else who you think might find this information helpful over the course of the coming week. I want to say congratulations to the students at Gardner High School in the music program who participated in their spring concert this past week, our symphonic band, our jazz band, and our chorus students. It's great to have our students live performing again in our schools and being able to showcase all of the skills and talents that they've been able to hone together as part of their classroom and academic and extracurricular activities here at Gardner Public Schools. So thank you very much to Mr. Douglas Lepisto, our Director of Bands, and Mrs. Joanne Landry, our Choral Director at Gardner High School, for an excellent concert. And I look forward to seeing our students perform again in the very near future. I also want to thank the Vietnam Veterans of America's local chapter here in Gardner for putting on the annual Vietnam Veterans Day ceremony in front of Gardner City Hall. Due to the cold weather that we had this past Monday, it was moved into one of the conference rooms that we have here at City Hall for the speaking portion, and then we moved back outside for the ceremonial wreath layings, the 21-gun salute, and the flag lowering. So thank you very much to Jim Benton, Charlie Hodgkinson, and everyone else from the local Vietnam Veterans of America chapter for putting that on again year after year here, as well as a special congratulations and shout out to our veterans agent Lynette Gabrilla, who was a guest speaker, was invited by a group in Boston to speak at the state's official Vietnam Veterans Day ceremony as a expert on veterans' mental health issues that are happening across the state here. Very proud to have Lynette as part of our team and be recognized by the Commonwealth in that way, so congratulations, Lynette. Unitil has been inspecting their gas lines here in the city and have noticed some issues with the gas lines on Central Street, so they have begun the process of lining and preliminary excavations of the lines in Central Street, running all the way from the Pine Street intersection down by the Lofts at 30 Pine and the library, all the way up to the Uptown Rotary. Now, some of you may remember that last year we did pave from the Pine Street intersection all the way up to the Maple Street intersection by Monument Park. The administration's policy here for the Department of Public Works and my administration here is that if a utility company comes in and wants to dig up a road that we have paved in the past 5 years, we require them to cover the cost of full pavement from curb to curb as if the road was never dug into by them, since that's how it was when we intended to go through and pave the area. Particularly where we paved those roads with the loan that we took out of the water enterprise account that was paid for by our water users here in the city. We want to make sure that we aren't doing anything that could be wasteful spending or isn't done in the best financial and fiduciary interest of our water users here in the city. So Unitil will be covering the cost of curb-to-curb pavement in those sections that we already paved last year. However, we did not pave from Maple Street up to the Uptown Rotary, so they will continue to do that, and then we'll look at holding off on paving that upper section of Central Street until after that work is done. That way we don't have to worry about that even from the start after that work is done there. I will say too, when we do pave Central Street, we are going to stop just short of the Uptown Rotary because the state will probably come in and do that. We're expecting that pavement work and the construction work to begin next April 2023. The Uptown Rotary construction project will go out to bid this September, so if everything follows the usual timeline, we'll start to see some digging and construction up at that site next April, so it doesn't make sense for us to go through and pave that all this year just for the state to come dig it up again next year. So we are going to stop just short of the Uptown Rotary when we go through and pave Central Street. While we're on the topic of our different other construction projects that we have going on, the state has notified us that they will begin digging up and repaving Route 2 from the Pearson Boulevard exit right off of Staples by that rotary all the way down to Route 31 on Route 2 just past Mount Elam Road in Fitchburg in the Leominster area. So do prepare for that if you commute on Route 2 to and from work. That is scheduled to begin on June 1st of this year and is scheduled for completion on June 30th of next year. So this is a full 12-month process. So we want to make sure people have as much of a heads up as possible so that you can plan your commute accordingly, particularly if you have to start finding alternate routes to avoid some of the detours that may be put up. The state has also told us that we've gotten full approval to move forward on 2 of our different traffic improvement projects. For those of you who may not understand what a traffic improvement project grant program is at the state level, it is a program administered through the Massachusetts Department of Transportation in which the city pays for the design of a project and the state covers 100% of the construction costs. This is how the Uptown Rotary project is being done, for example. It cost the city about $15,000 in the design of the project, and the state is covering the full $2 million construction costs associated with that project. So again, the city covers the design costs and the state covers the construction cost. The two areas that the state has approved to begin forward in construction this year is the paving of Pearson Boulevard from the Rotary all the way down to just past Williams Restaurant, past TD Bank, GFA, and Horrigan Cleaners in that area. So that work will begin on May 1st. So you can start to see construction crews probably out there within the next couple of weeks start to, really, spray paint the road, line things out, dig safe out there so that they can get ready to begin milling the area beginning on May 1st. Now, this is something that took the city 11 years to get the Department of Transportation to agree to. We first approached them with the application for them to go through and repave and improve that section 11 years ago. And it took that far to get up through the project and the state to receive all this different federal infrastructure money that we're receiving for them to finally be able to go through and do that. But that's why the city had not gone through and repaved that road yet, as it was in the state's pipeline to eventually say yes and repave themselves, and we're finally at that point. So thank you very much to our DPW Director, Dane Arnold, and our current DPW Business Manager, Chris Coughlin, who was our former city engineer, for really getting that off the ground and going there. So that will begin there shortly, as well as the paving of Route 140 from Green Street here in Gardner all the way down to the town's borderline with the town of Winchendon. That'll all be milled and paved beginning in May this year as well. So we do have some paving projects happening outside the center of town as well too, so keep an eye out on our city's website and Facebook page so that you have some information on any potential detours that may be coming up, both in the downtown paving project, the Unitil project, and those other state projects that'll be happening. And while we're speaking about 140, the bike path bridge over Route 140, similar to the one that was installed over Route 2 in Leominster by Barnes & Noble and the Whitney Field area. Gardner's version of that bridge is at its 25% completion rate. At this point, we can start talking to National Grid and some other companies there. It looks like that will have a construction date of 2026, so within just about 4 years' time, we'll have our own pedestrian bike bridge over Route 140 that'll connect the North Central Pathway bike trail here in Gardner to the Winchendon bike trail too, and it'll go all the way to New Hampshire to fully connect our North Central bike path from the New Hampshire border all the way down through Gardner to the town of Hubbardston. So it really will be an exciting time for us and our different transportation and general infrastructure projects that we have here in the city. You'll notice some work taking place down at the South Gardner Fire Station. There was a small oil leak when one of the oil tanks at the station had a malfunction, so crews are over there in the station itself remediating the oil that's spilt in the area under the foundation. So if you see a large dumpster looking type structure with a vacuum hose going into the building, that's what that is there. However, the retaining wall behind the South Gardner Fire Station was also having some structural issues as well, so we're doing that repair at the same time. So if you notice any excavations being done or any loud noises like a suction sound or a vacuum sound happening in the area, it's those two different projects going on at the same time. So if you're driving by, everything is okay at the South Gardner Fire Station. We just wanted to make sure people knew exactly what was going on over there, is the oil remediation and the repair of that retaining wall that's right there next to the laundromat. The Department of Community Development and Planning this past week hosted a ribbon cutting for the Muscle Works gym here in Gardner. That's been a long established business here for about 15 years at their new location on Sanborn Street in the same building as CubeSmart. Originally, Muscle Works had been further down around in the old Simplex building. However, they moved just across the street into their new location, which is a larger location. They had gotten so popular that they outgrew their space. So now they have a location that's about 4,000 more square feet. Bringing them up to about 2,100 square feet for their facility there. So thank you very much to our Economic Development Coordinator, Jessica DeRoy, for sponsoring that ribbon cutting and putting that all together. And congratulations to MuscleWorks. It's always great to see our local businesses really growing and expanding here in our city because of how popular they're becoming and the successes that they've had in the past year. So thank you very much for continuing your investment in our community rather than looking at somewhere else. While we're on the topic of our business community, the city did launch a brand new small business grant program utilizing some of our American recovery funds that we received in the latest stimulus bill passed by Congress. We are giving up to $25,000 in grant funding to businesses that were negatively impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic, and these are small businesses. Unlike the grant program that we had before that was very similar to this, that we received the money from the state's Department of Community Development and Housing, that was capped at $25,000 for businesses that had 5 employees or less. Since this is a city-run grant program and not a state-run grant program, this is for businesses that have 50 employees or less, to try to see if we can help some of those businesses that struggled a little more. Those that received a full $25,000 grant in the previous program are ineligible to receive this grant again because it would be covering the same costs. However, we're trying to make sure that we can help as many businesses as we can that stuck with us through the pandemic and those trying times that we had. So if you know of a business owner who would be interested in participating in a program like this, please have them contact Jessica DeRoy in our Department of Community Development and Planning here in City Hall, or our Director of Community Development, Trevor Beauregard, and they'll be happy to get them that information as well. We had a very small snow squall this past week here that kind of came unexpected here in the city. And it's something that kind of prompted us to talk about trying to see if we can talk in these updates about some of the different financial impacts that different events like that have here in the city. So the snow squall that we saw this past weekend cost the city about $6,200 just for that quick little snow squall that we had there. And that was a very quick, the snow came in and then stopped about a half an hour later. But it was enough to make it so that anyone who came to school late that day had an excused tardy or an excused absence because it was during our bus routes. But with the mobilization of our DPW crews, every time it snows, we put about 80 to 90 tons of salt out on the roads. The different, time it takes to treat the roads and things like that. Every snowstorm, just a small amount like that for about every half an hour, costs us around $6,000 in cost because of the different programs that go along with every snowstorm. Now that's just for a small snow squall like that. So when you think about the ice that we've had this past year where it's more than snow, if you're putting 80 to 90 tons of salt out every couple hours on the street, it really does bump up what we're spending here. We're close to about almost $300,000, $325,000 in cost that it's been just to treat the roads this winter time. So if you have any questions on any finances or any of the financial impacts that different weather events like that have in the city that you think might be interesting to people, just as little fun facts or tidbits in these updates, always feel free to reach out, and we're happy to do little specials like this where we can talk about how things like that relate to the general budget that we have here in the city as well. However, that concludes this week's update. In terms of the different programs, projects, and things that have happened this past week, I do want to end with a brief note of condolences to Councillor Tyros and his family who lost their son this past week. And just know that everyone here in City Hall and our city are in our thoughts and prayers as we think about you through the upcoming week. But that concludes this week's update. Until we speak again next week, please let my office know if you have any questions on anything that was brought up during these discussions here in this video update, or in anything else that comes up in between now and the next time this video gets released. My office is happy to talk to you at any time. Thank you very much, and have a good day.